Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. So today, I'll be sharing about risk assessment with a focus on risk identification. So basically, what is risk assessment? Risk assessment is the process of finding, analyzing, and also prioritizing risks that could affect an organization. So basically, each department plays an important role because they understand the risk in their own work, and the goal is to make better decisions and prepare strategies to manage those risks. The first and foremost, which is an important step, is risk identification, which means recognizing that a risk exists and identifying possible problems that may arise from the activities that is run in the organization. If risks are not identified properly, the whole risk management process could fail. This step is important because risks can affect projects, operations, or even financial stability of an organization. By identifying risks early and regularly, organizations can plan ahead and manage them effectively. To identify risks, we can use methods such as brainstorming, data analysis, or expert input, while also looking at both internal and external factors that may cause problems. So, in conclusion, risk assessment helps organizations prepare for potential issues, and risk identification is the most critical step. With proper identification and teamwork from all levels, organizations can remain strong, stable, and ready for challenges.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is HEYQAL bin Halim. I'm from class student 4B. Today, I'm going to present about risk identification, tools and techniques, specifically focusing on physical inspections and observations. Risk identification is an important process to ensure workplace safety and to reduce possibility overlooking potential risks by using systematic approaches. Organization can prevent incidents, injuries, and illnesses more effectively. One of the most effective techniques for risk identification is physical inspections. This involves visiting the workplace directly and observing the condition on site. Through physical inspections, we can identify unsafe situations and potential hazards that may not be visible in pictures or documents. This inspection also helps management to take corrective actions by planning, conducting, and monitoring safety measures to ensure a safer environment. Thank you. I pass it to IMAN HAFIZ.
For example, as shown in the picture, a group of inspectors is assessing the workplace while checking safety standards and recording necessary notes. Their purpose is to detect any possible risks and ensure preventive measures are taken before any incident occurs. In conclusion, physical inspections are very useful tool in identifying risks at the workplace. They allow us to detect hazards early, assist management in taking preventive action, and ultimately create a safer working environment for everyone. Thank you.
For our part, we will explain about flowchart as one of the tools for risk identification. A flowchart is basically a diagram that shows the sequence of steps in the process. In risk management, flowcharts help us to see clearly how a process works and where potential risks might happen.
Yes, that's right. By mapping out each step in a process, we can identify weak points or areas where problem could occur. For example, in a supply chain flowchart, we can see steps like supplier, transportation, warehouse, and customer. Each of these steps has its own risk, like supplier delay, transport accidents, or damaged goods in the warehouse. With a flowchart, it becomes easier to spot these risks and plan how to manage them.
In short, flowcharts are very useful because they make process easier to understand and help us identify risks more effectively.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today I'm going to present about the definition of checklist and also the example of it. So a checklist is a tool used to track tasks and ensure everything is completed on time. It helps people stay organized and avoid forgetting important steps. For instance, a manager may use a checklist to make sure all work is done before the shop opens and the work done is perfect.
So next, I'll be talking about risk avoidance. So what is risk avoidance? Risk avoidance is a way of controlling risk by completely eliminating any exposure to it. Meaning, the risk does not take place at all. There's no risk in the organization. This is done when organizations identify high-risk activities and decide to avoid them. For example, instead of buying property, someone may choose to rent, or a company may avoid selling a hazardous product. A restaurant might not add a new ingredient if it could cause allergies, and a startup may choose not to partner with the risky supplier. Even though this method can prevent losses, it is often seen as negative because it also limits opportunities and not all risk can be avoided. In some cases, when the risky activity is essential to the organization, avoiding it is not possible, and other control measures must be used. In conclusion, risk avoidance is useful to eliminate dangerous risks, but it also has its limitations, which is why it is usually combined with other risk management strategies.
Hello everyone, today I will present about risk prevention. Risk prevention refers to the process of reducing the frequency or likelihood of losses by taking proactive action. It focuses on implementing measures to stop risk from materializing or causing undesirable outcome. The main goal is to identify potential risks early and take preventive action to eliminate or minimize their chance of occurring. Organizations usually assess potential risks and apply various preventive measures, such as establishing robust policies, procedures, and control. For example, car are routinely inspected to detect mechanical problems and reduce the frequency of accidents. In the software industry, companies perform regular code review and quality assurance tests to avoid software bugs and security vulnerabilities. Similarly, retail stores conduct strict inventory checks to prevent stock losses, while tech startups often carry out background checks on employees to avoid hiring individuals with a history of misconduct or fraud. Thank you.
After that, risk prevention. Measures are also often enforced by law or business regulations. For instance, the employers are required to the employees to use protective equipment and clothing according to Occupational Safety and Health Act (OCHA) 1994. When the level of risk exposure is high, but the level of loss is low, organizations still choose to treat the risk to make it more manageable. By doing so, once preventive measures are applied, the overall of risk level becomes more acceptable and tolerable. In conclusion, risk prevention is an essential strategy to protect organizations and individuals from potential harm. By identifying risks early and implementing proper measures, we can effectively reduce the chances of incidents, losses, and other undesirable outcomes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apart from that, the risk reduction means taking steps to lower the chance or impact of a risk. It helps businesses stay safe while continuing their activity confidently. For instance, A company may install fire extinguisher to reduce fire damage, or an airline may use backup system to avoid equipment failure. For example, in the airplane, there's a backup electric supplier to help is there in case there is no electrical signal in the airplane during mid-flight. So this strategy protects people, assets and data by using safety measures and control.
Hello everyone. Today I will explain about risk retention, one of the important risk management techniques. Risk retention simply means that a person or a company decide to keep the risk and pay for the losses themselves, instead of transferring the risk to someone else like an insurance company. This method is usually used when the risk is small, unlikely to happen, or when the cost of insurance is more expensive than the actual loss. For example, a company may not insure small office items, or someone may choose not to buy a warranty for a cheap phone. The advantage of risk retention is that it can save money and give more control of your funds. But the disadvantage is that if a big loss happens, you must cover the cost fully by yourself. In short, risk retention is a smart choice for a small and manageable risk, but it requires financial strength and careful planning. Thank you.
Today I will explain about self-insurance, which is part of risk management financing technique. Self-insurance means that instead of buying an insurance policy, an organization sets aside its own money to cover possible losses. In other words, the company is acting as its own insurer. This method is usually used by large organizations that have strong financial capacity. They prepare a special reserve fund, and it works best when the risks are predictable and the potential losses are not too big. The main advantage of self-insurance are it saves costs because the company does not need to pay premium to insurance company. It gives flexibility since the organization decides how the fund is used, and the fund can be invested, which creates a cash flow benefit before any loss actually happens. However, there are also disadvantages. The organization carries the full responsibility if a major loss occurs. It requires a large amount of money to set up the fund, which not every business can afford, and it needs very good risk management to estimate losses correctly. For example, a company may prepare a fund to cover accidents involving employees. Another example is when a university or hospital set aside money to repair damage to their property instead of buying insurance. In conclusion, self-insurance can save money and provide flexibility, but it is only suitable for organizations that are financially strong and have the ability to manage risk effectively.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today we are going to talk about the review and monitoring the risk management program. So the program is important to make sure everything is working well. Once a risk plan is in a place, it needs to be checked regularly to see if it meets their goals and follows the rule sets. The risk manager has to review and evaluate it from time to time to make sure the organization stays safe and standards are met. For example, the department buy the fire extinguisher in order to make sure that the building is safe from any firing. But in order to make sure that the thing is in a good condition, they need to do a fire drill every 6 months to ensure employees know what to do. During one review, they found out that some fire extinguishers are expired. Because of the regular monitoring, they can replace the expired fire extinguisher to the new one. So this show how review and monitoring can prevent the department from any incident that could harm many people. So on the whole, some risks may seem unknowns, but with the right tools, knowledge and planning, they can be identified and managed properly. Thank you.
Today I will talk about how risks are constantly changing. Risks can change due to external factors like the economy or politics, or internal factors such as change in system. For example, new competitors may appear, digital disruption may happen, or regulation may change. Because of this, organizations need to regularly analyze, categorize, and assess risks. Ongoing monitoring is very important so that any potential risk can be mitigated at the right time. In short, risk management is a continuous process that helps business stay prepared for unexpected change. That's all from me. Thank you.
In this part, I will talk about reviewing and monitoring risks. Risks need to be monitored regularly to check if their impact and livelihood have changed, and also to see if the organization risk appetite is still the same. By re-evaluating, we can reprioritize risks. Some risks may become less important, while new risks may appear that need more attention. We should also consider opportunity risks like entering new market. This can change quickly depending on policy or new regulation. In the end, reviewing risks help business focus on the right areas, manage threats effectively, and also maximize new opportunity for better returns.
For chapter 6, I will present about when we should to monitor risk. The frequency of monitoring depends on the company and the type of risk. Some companies only need to review risk once a year, but for companies in a fast-changing environment, risk monitoring should be done more often, sometimes every week. For example, in project management, risks are often reviewed weekly to make sure new problems are identified and old ones are updated. No matter what frequency is chosen, it is important to set aside time for review so that everyone involved can be aware of the risk and participate in the discussion. Risk monitoring can be done in a formal way, such as committee meetings with reports, or a less formal way, like short but documented meetings. The most important point is to have a consistent process to keep risks under control. That's all from me. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my topic is about classifying the risks that need to be reviewed and at what frequency. Not all risks need to be reviewed every month. Some risks change every slowly. For example, product substitution or new competitors, so they can be reviewed once a year. But some risks change very fast, such as cyber attack risk. This must be monitored more often, sometimes even continuously with the help of automated system of third-party service. So, the key idea is to classify risks based on how likely they are to happen and how severe the impact could be. This way, we can decide whether to review the risk weekly, monthly, or yearly. In short, classification helps us focus on the most important risks and use our time effectively. Thank you.
So, next, in the process of risk evaluation, it is important to see reliable sources of information. Internal sources can come from within the organization, such as reports on sales, revenue, customer retention, cost of goods sold, and other performance data. Internal audit reports are also very useful as they help to check if businesses units are carrying out the agreed actions and support the monitoring process. Apart from that, external sources are also needed to get a clearer picture of the current situation. This can include news reports, data mining, third-party suppliers, consultants, trade associations, or even professional publications and websites. By combining both internal and external sources, organizations can ensure a more accurate and complete evaluation.